Okay, so I'm Aaron Ault. I'm the project lead for the Open Ag Data Alliance. I'm a senior research engineer at Purdue University, which is where we've kind of housed the project itself. And I'm also a full-time farmer. I work part-time at Purdue, so I have 3,000 acres of corn, soybeans, wheat, a little bit of wheat, 3,000 head of beef cattle. And so I have lived the ag data sphere myself personally, all the pain, all the hassle for the last 20 years. And most farmers I talk to, pain and hassle, they get a smile on their face, like, yes, that is what it is. I think most dealers have the same opinion. Most agronomists have the same opinion. So if everybody thinks it's painful, how do we make it better, right? How do we get out of these sort of proprietary silos of data that everything's stuck in, that you can't make tool A work with tool B? I can't get data from my farm to my agronomist without a bunch of exporting and USB sticks and everything else. And that's what our project is designed to help. We're trying to make data in ag simpler. We're not trying to solve all problems for all people. We're trying to create a standard way that data can get into the cloud, out of the cloud, between clouds. And what that means for the farmer is that finally you could have a tool built by someone who's not your equipment manufacturer. So let's say a tool that keeps track of how many acres you planted this year on your phone. Nice and easy, very simple. I can build it on a Saturday afternoon. It can watch the GPS location of a tractor and figure out which fields you went in, so you don't even have to tell it when you're done planting. It just knows. Not that hard to build. The problem is getting the GPS location of the tractor, and so that's what OADA is really about, is can we make it so that it's easy to build that app? There's a library or something somewhere that when you have the idea for this planting app, this great app you want to build, and you're a small entrepreneur, you know a kid down the street who wants to build Android apps or something, you can get that done. The libraries are there to make it easier, faster, and most importantly, secure. It's not just a one-off hack to try to make something work. It actually is using the best industry standard security that's out there to get data where you want it to go. And that's key for our project. That one of the first things you'll hear from most farmers in the data space is questions about security and privacy and things like that. And so our project has been designed from the ground up with the idea that the farmer owns the data generated on their farm. So they're the ones who get to say, where should it go? I have a planting app and I'd like to share it with my planting app. I have an agronomist, I'd like my data to go with that agronomist. And without the farmer being able to do that, or without that ability, the farmer doesn't necessarily own their data. They're the one that needs to say, where's it going? Now the privacy policies of the place you share it with are still important, but it's still a place you trust that you're sharing data with. And so by making this a standard way of getting data in and out of the cloud, you actually can pick services that you trust that maybe someone else doesn't trust, and vice versa. So you have an ability now to get data into one place and sync it over to a place that you like, instead of being tied into whatever happens to be with the piece of equipment or sensor or something that you have now. So our main goal is to try to make that simpler, to really kind of break the chains of entrepreneurial spirit in ag and let people start using data for what our core business is, logistics. We farmers are logistics masters. We get the right tractor to the right field with the right variety, and the hydraulic line is busted and there's duct tape on it, and we're pouring hydraulic oil in the top as fast as it's coming out the bottom, but it's going to rain tomorrow, so we're going to get it planted. And so, and even though the fact that is our main business, we don't use data for logistics. And that's why we don't use data really for anything else. Because if you don't use it for logistics, it won't be good, because you won't look at it for 6 months. And so what comes along with open source projects like this, where it's out there, it's public, this is how you interact with an OADA cloud, this is how you create an OADA compliant app, is that you basically make it so that anybody can try it. And so if there's one thing we should have learned from the last 20 years of pain in precision ag, the equipment stuff was great. Auto steer, row shutoffs, those things are amazing, right? I can sit in the tractor, twiddle my thumbs, it drives, it's got satellites in space telling me where I am. This is fantastic. But what you did with it after that was always the pain. And we've had 20 years of sort of fail with that. I still can't evaluate whether my cover crops made me money this year easily without setting up, extremely complicated, replicated trials over 10 years. And so to get data actually working for us in evaluation and logistics, the one thing we should have learned from 20 years is that it's hard. It's hard to turn data into answers. It's hard to figure out what the right solution is, because there isn't one right one. Every farm is asking different questions. Every farm is slightly different than the other one. But there are similarities where you can make small market niches and make things that are useful in certain situations. I'm a corn, beans, and cattle farmer. I have very little in common with a tree fruit farmer. But we all have the same data problems, is trying to get what's happening in the field into some place that's useful to us. And one nice thing about this approach is if we make it so that anybody can try their ideas cheaply, then you let the best people throw their best ideas at the problem and the market decides what sticks. You're no longer purchasing tools or using tools based on the fact that it works with your tractor, because there's only one that works with your tractor. You're purchasing the planting app because it's the best planting app of the 8 that are out there. You like that one, it makes sense to you, it's not hard to use. And as soon as the market forces can take over in this industry, you're going to see rapid adoption of all sorts of great data tools that just make data simpler.